I've been putting together your boxes that have been going out on Friday afternoons. Hopefully yours should have arrived for today, and in it are the ingredients of how to make a really easy macaroni cheese. It doesn't have very many ingredients at all, so have a little rifle around your box. You should have a block of butter, and we've included some crumpets as well, because you know butter and crumpets is super nice. Some milk, some cheese in a little bag ready grated for you, a tiny bag of flour, and some pasta. My pasta is a little bit different to yours. This is shells, you've got penne pasta. It doesn't really matter, any pasta you've got. I've cooked my pasta already, so you don't have to watch me for 8 minutes or 9 minutes or 10 minutes cooking pasta. But I've used about half of the bag. This is the same size bag as you've got, so about half a bag will serve about 3 or 4 people, depending on how hungry you are. Get a nice big pan, lot of water, bring it to the boil, add your pasta, and then cook it until it's tender. You don't want it super floppy, because you're going to then cook this a bit more later on. So just have it a little bit al dente, as they call it in Italian, just a nice little bite to it. Drain this off, and then if you give your pan a little rinse, you can use the same pan again, so you don't need to bother with loads of washing up. And then this is the basis of a sauce. In French the sauce is called a roux, but you can just call it a white sauce. My dad actually taught me how to make this sauce when I was quite young, and it's the basis of so many different dishes, so it's worth knowing how to make it. It's really quite simple, but you just need to put a bit of arm work into it. So I'm going to put my hob onto a medium heat. So depends how your hob works, but if you've got an electric, then kind of around the midway point. Take your butter. On the edge of the packet of butter, it should say the markings of where 50 grams are. So this is a 250 gram pack of butter, exactly the same as yours, but it will be marked off, and you're looking for around a fifth of the pack of butter, which is 50 grams. So if you just cut off about 50 gram piece, it doesn't matter too much how accurate it is, so you don't need to weigh it or anything like that. It's kind of a chunk like that. Put it on your back in the same pan, and because you've got a medium heat here, it's just going to melt nicely without burning. So you don't want it going crazy in the pan and going brown. You just want it to melt gently and be nicely foaming. This same sauce is the base of so many different dishes. So it's really nice in a fish pie. It's the sauce that's used on a lasagna. So many different things. In today's recipe, we add the grated cheese at the end, and that gives it this lovely cheesy flavour. So keep melting your butter, and once that's done, you can add your flour. I've included enough flour in your box for you to make this 3 times, if you're kind of stingy, I suppose, or 2 times generously. But just bear in mind that if you add more butter and more flour, you will need to use a lot more milk. So in today's recipe, we've used roughly 50 grams of butter and roughly 50 grams of flour. And then for that, we only need half of this, so about a pint of milk. But if you add a lot more butter and flour, you're going to end up having to use a lot more of your milk to loosen it off, which is fine if you are happy to make a lot. It stores really well in the fridge and heats up again really nicely, either in the microwave if you have one, or you can pop it back through the oven. So add your flour to your butter, and then what you need to do is just start stirring. So it looks a bit lumpy at the beginning, but if you just keep stirring, it will become really nice and smooth. Some people use a whisk to make this sauce. I just find that a nice wooden spoon does the job. If you've got a few different pans to choose from, then try and choose a pan with a slightly thicker base, because it will mean that the butter doesn't burn on the bottom of the pan. Of course, if you've got a couple of pans, you could be cooking the pasta while you're making your sauce, but it's always nice to do less washing up, so we're just doing it in one pan today. You can see it's bubbling away, and that's what you want. You want the butter to be cooking the flour, because you don't want that sort of raw flour taste to it. So just cook it through for a couple of minutes, keep stirring, otherwise it will stick. And then you want to add about half of your carton of milk, but tiny bit at a time. It will do funny things to the sauce. So you can see that straight away it goes into this really kind of thick texture. I don't know why it does this. It's kind of magic, I suppose, that you add 3 ingredients and they turn into a really tasty sauce. But don't worry if it kind of goes a bit lumpy at any stage. Just really go crazy stirring, and it will be all right. Even if it is a little bit lumpy, it's not the end of the world. It will still taste nice. Just keep going, just keep adding a little bit at a time, little bit, and keep stirring at every stage until you've incorporated it all. Little bit more. The more you go on, the kind of more you can add at each stage. But if you add a lot of milk at once, then you do end up kind of slopping it around the pan a little bit. And it has more tendency to get lumpy. But keep going. This is not a time-consuming meal, so it seems like, ugh, the sauce is a pain to make, but it's not really. It doesn't, I mean, in total this will take, 10 minutes to cook your pasta. You need to cook the sauce through a little bit, but you can, at the end of this, you could choose to eat your pasta just in your cheesy sauce, or you can pop it under your grill or pop it in the oven, but it can be as quick as you want it to be. So you can see that we've mixed all that milk in now, and I'll add a bit more. does become easier to add the milk, the looser it gets. Okay. And then add the rest. So I've got about, splash more, about half of my carton used now. And you'll see that it's now all incorporated and really smooth, but it's now really runny, so not much of a sauce. But because of the flour and the combination with the butter, if you leave this to cook for about 10 minutes, it will get nice and thick again. So I would keep your eye on it. You don't need to be stirring it constantly, but you do need to stir it once in a while, otherwise it will just get lumpy on the bottom. So just give it a stir from time to time. So I mentioned that you can just eat this as soon as you've made it. Mix your cheese in, mix your pasta in, and you could eat it as a really nice cheesy pasta meal. But if you've got some sort of dish that is happy to go in the oven, then get it ready and either turn your oven on or turn your grill on. If you're making this and it's all really nice and hot straight away, you could probably get away with just putting it under your grill. But it will make the top nice and brown and the cheese go nice and crusty and chewy. So I would recommend popping it in the grill or in the oven afterwards. If you want your meal to go a little bit further, or you would like to add some veg, then a good one is cauliflower. So I've just boiled this lightly, and I'm going to add it through at the end, so it will be like a cauliflower cheese, macaroni cheese hybrid, but really tasty. You could do it with just the cauliflower and not any pasta. And what you can do is you can save some of your cheese to go on the top. So put most of it in your sauce and then save a little bit. If you're going to be putting it under the grill, you can save a little bit to sprinkle on the top. Your cheese is just a nice mature cheddar. You can use any sort of semi-hard cheese, so anything you like and can get hold of will work well. I'm just going to turn the temperature up slightly on my sauce, so it thickens up a little bit more. Just keep an eye on it. And when it's become nice and thick, you can then turn it off. So take the heat away completely from this. Get your pasta. And give it a nice shake so it's really drained. You don't really want a lot of that sort of cooking water coming into your sauce, otherwise it will thin it right down again. And then, like I was saying, turn the heat off on your sauce. Add your cheese. If you're keeping a little bit of cheese for the top, then that's entirely up to you, the ratio, but you do want most of your cheese in the sauce. I'm going to save a little bit for the top. Give it a really nice stir again, and then add your pasta back into your pan. And give it a really nice mix. You can see here actually that it's all kind of, the cheese is all stringy on it. This is the perfect food for rainy, cold days like today. So give it a really lovely stir, and then I'm going to pop my cauliflower into my dish and stir the rest in here, as I don't think it's gonna quite fit in my pan. So add that. Make sure you get all of that sauce out. And then give it a really nice stir. Sprinkle the rest of your cheese on the top. There we go. And then that is ready to go in the oven or under the grill. If you're putting it under the grill, just keep an eye on it. And when it's got a lovely brown top, it's done. And enjoy. That is a very big meal, so I hope that some of you are hungry. If you made the fajitas last week, or you're going to make this, and you've got any questions about anything, then I'm not on Facebook or part of your group, but if you text your PA or would like to get in touch with me, then you can find me on Instagram. I'm at BoxE Bristol, so BOXE Bristol. But let me know how you're doing, or if you've got any questions or want to know how to cook something, give me a shout. Happy cooking.